Edo State beats Lagos as Nigeria records 556 new COVID-19 cases. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board releases examination guidelines. In international news, gun violence surges in American cities during pandemic. And in sport, Victor Agali laments over quality of domestic football.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria's COVID-19 cases have now totaled 36,663 as Nigeria's Center for Disease Control records 556 new cases. Edo State carried the brunt of the virus with 104 cases. Lagos, for the first time in a long while, came second, chalking up 97 new infections. The Federal Capital Territory recorded 17 new cases. The rest of the new infections were shared by 15 other states, also recorded new infections. Nigeria's COVID-19 deaths now top 789. So far, 15,105 COVID-19 patients have been discharged. Acting Managing Director of the Nigeria Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Daniel Ponde, has been rushed to the hospital after passing out during interrogation by the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC Finances and Affairs. The Acting Managing Director passed out when House member Shehu Koko asked him to explain the 642 million naira paid to a company known as Clearpoint Communication and 536 million naira paid to Save Life campaign in the oil-rich region, and to prove that they were all budgeted for in the 2019 Appropriation Act. In his response, Ponde talked to the lawmakers. 642 million naira was paid to Clearpoint Communication to train locals and to help locate and identify NDDC projects in the area, but he could not confirm that the payments were budgeted for. As we speak, Minister of Niger Delta, Godswill Akpabio, is currently answering questions posed by the panel. The committee is in its fourth day of public hearing as it investigates alleged financial misappropriation at the agency. The Nigeria Air Force has released a report on how female combat pilot Tolulope Arotile died in a car accident inside the Kaduna Air Force Base. The investigations were prompted by the public speculation that Arotile was deliberately killed. The Air Force calls the speculation false. In investigative reports, NAF says Arotile was killed by her friend who mistakenly hit her with his vehicle. NAF further says the friend, Nehemiah Adijo, had reversed his vehicle ostensibly in an attempt to quickly meet up with Arotile, who was walking in the opposite direction. In the process, the vehicle struck flying officer Arotile from the rear, knocking her down with significant force and causing her to hit her head on the pavement. The vehicle then ran over parts of her body as it veered off the road beyond the curb. Arotile was said to have died from her head injuries. The Nigeria Air Force has handed over the case to the police. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released guidelines to all heads of tertiary institutions for the 2020 admission exercise. The Examination Board has advised all institutions to begin admission of candidates for first and second choices next month. In a document sent to all vice-chancellors, rectors, and provosts of universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, the JAMB Registrar Ishaq Oloyede warns against flouting decisions of its 2020 policy meeting. Oloyede insisted that all admissions must be carried out in an honest and transparent manner. He further insisted the admissions exercise for the 2020-2021 academic session will be conducted on the Central Admission Processing System. JAMB has also asked the three higher education regulatory bodies, the National Universities Commission, the National Board for Technical Education, and the National Commission for Colleges of Education, to collaborate with it to ensure full compliance with the guidelines. School closures are one of the most visible negative effects of the coronavirus pandemic on young people. UNESCO says education of at least 1.5 billion pupils in 190 countries has so far been affected, and that's 90% of the world's school-age children. Correspondent Kelechi Mekalan tells us some Nigerian children have opted for learning IT skills amid this pandemic.
10-year-old Miguel Nwabugu and his brother are perfecting their tech skills. For the past 3 months, the siblings have been taking online classes to build their IT knowledge. That's alongside their regular online schooling. Schools have been shut since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, and 5th grader Miguel is now using this time to flex his tech muscles.
While the pandemic has happened, so far online lessons I have learned website designing and app developing. Okay, I was taught how to make websites using WordPress, and I was taught how to make app developing using MIT App Developer. I've been doing well on my online lessons, and the only problem is just that I don't get to see my friends and socialize with them.
Well, I'm looking into the future as a father and as up to my kids, and I feel it's good for them to have IT knowledge, given where the world is going. So that informed my decision to, make them to have this IT knowledge so that they can fit into the future.
Nigeria is among the fastest growing tech hubs on the continent, but it's been slow to translate this into tangible impact for the ordinary citizens. ICT entrepreneur Chinenye Ude is one of those looking to close this gap. Her action-based learning center focuses on budding young minds, and the switch to virtual learning has opened up more opportunities for kids beyond Nigeria.
Now we've moved digitally, and in the digital space is a global space, it's limitless. Now we can reach people across the world. As of today, we have kids coding, taking our courses from California, Canada, USA, South Africa, Zambia, Uganda on our platform. So we are generating more revenue than when we were just in our space. So we are creating more income, empowering more teachers to gain employment, because right now we are calling on those that have the skill to be able to deliver coding skills, web development. So teachers are not left out. They can teach in their schools, have their project, but also make money by delivering courses online anywhere they are.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria's technology sector contributed 13.85% to the national GDP in 2019, a rise from 11.22% in 2018. As the nation looks to diversify its economy from oil dependence, many believe that preparing the younger generation for a digital future is a step in the right direction.
Coming up, African stories. Sudan government rebel groups enter final phase of peace talks. And later, international news. Even amid COVID-19, America's gun violence increases.
You are watching ANN.
Hey, tell them. They told me you are the best around here.
What can I do for you, sir?
I want my own very, very simple. I don't want any shine. If I see any shine.
Actually, I'd love some sequins on my skirt. And I don't like any frills. I beg, I want frills on mine. But it must not be too tight.
Tight! That tight now, that is what I want. And the transition.
Oh, you know what? I want a gown.
Me too. I want to come to bang.
You know what GMS are doing?
Hey, did you capture all the information?
Of course not.
Actually,
fantastic.
I give my customers what they love because everyone has their unique style. So why should they wear the same thing? Just like MTN for me, which gives unique data and recharge offers just the way you like it. Just dial *121# and turn up great offers every day.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Ghana is marching forward with plans to hold its general elections in December despite the coronavirus pandemic. It had made efforts to compile a new voters register in April, but COVID-19 disrupted those plans, and now some opposition parties are not on board on the idea of a new voters roll. Nabi Ahmed Rufai has the details.
A race against time to compile Ghana's new voters register. The process was to begin in April, but it was postponed when the country was locked down due to the coronavirus pandemic. As the government eases restrictions, the Electoral Commission now has an uphill task to make the electoral roll ready before the December polls. At the registration centers, safety measures including the wearing of face masks are being enforced to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Nobody would like to risk his life into any unnecessary, unforetold, whatever circumstances. So everybody is taking precaution.
Compliance with physical distancing at voter registration centers has become a major challenge, something health experts say could lead to a further spread of the virus.
We are aware that some of us would prefer that we wait for the end of the pandemic before carrying out our processes such as this one. Others believe that since the virus may linger into long term, we must find ways to stay safe while engaging in our normal business. The latter view seems largely to reflect the global approach.
Despite the risk of compiling a new voters roll amid the pandemic, the Electoral Commission says it needs it to conduct credible elections. The Electoral Commission plans to register more than 15 million voters by August, but political analysts say it will be difficult to meet that target due to the risks posed by the coronavirus pandemic. The main opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, was against the compilation of a new voters register. The party argued the old register was fit for purpose and that compiling a new one would be too costly to the state. However, after losing a court battle over the issue against the Electoral Commission, it has now urged its followers to participate in the voter registration exercise.
So far so good, everything is going on smoothly and people are registering. I was here around 5:15. Now when I was sitting 10-15 minutes later, people started coming, and as we see, today is a working day too.
Ghana has yet to flatten the curve of coronavirus infections, which keep rising by the day. But the government says it will go ahead to conduct the elections in December after compiling the voters register.
The Sudanese government and the Revolutionary Front Alliance, which brings together the four armed groups, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, Northern Sector, have entered the final phase of peace talks. South Sudan has been the mediator in the process that aims at achieving a peace deal, and correspondent Patrick Hoyes reports.
Mediators say they are hopeful that a peace deal in Sudan can be reached within a few weeks. The only sticking point now is the security plan for the Darfur region in Western Sudan. Mediators say issues concerning the regions of Kordofan, Blue Nile and Nuba Mountain have been addressed. Central to the negotiations is the incorporation of armed factions into a single army of Sudan.
We have many armies in Sudan. Our movements, we have our arms, and the Sudan army is there, the rapid support forces. So we want to make a joint military from all these forces and to be in charge of the protections of people in Darfur. That is the only solution.
Despite peace talks in South Sudan's capital, Juba, attacks against civilians have continued in Darfur. Hundreds of civilians were reportedly killed by unidentified militias in northern Darfur. The recent attacks sparked demonstrations in Juba, where peace talks have been going on since December last year. Mediators say they are hopeful a peace deal will be reached.
Regarding the issue of peace in Sudan, we have met all groups and we are progressing well. We would like to reach a final peace deal as soon as possible. That's what President Salva Kiir wants. But we would also like to achieve a durable peace for our brothers and sisters in Sudan. This is making the process take a little longer, but peace will finally come.
Sudan's government has agreed with the Sudan Revolutionary Front on power and wealth sharing during the country's transitional period, according to mediators. Sudan's interim government that came into power after the ousting of former President Omar al-Bashir says its first priority is to find lasting peace in Sudan by including all warring parties in a peace process.
There are many armed groups operating independently in the Nuba Mountains, southern Kordofan, Blue Nile and Darfur regions of Sudan, meeting their demands such as admitting all the armed forces with their current ranks into Sudan's armed forces is a challenge that mediators say is delaying reaching a final peace agreement.
Now, do you have an idea how 67,000 liters of soup would look? Well, that is what chefs with Compassion and SA Harvest provided to cities around South Africa to commemorate this year's Mandela Day. This is a collective action of hundreds of chefs as part of the Mandela Day Cook-a-thon. Correspondent Julia Schuer reports.
Former South African President Nelson Mandela brought hope to a nation during the dark days of apartheid. To honor his legacy, chefs from 10 cities in South Africa got busy in their kitchens. 67,000 liters of soup freshly made to feed close to 300,000 people who are barely surviving South Africa's long and tough lockdown.
We as the school, we have to also take action and inspire change. And I think Nelson Mandela would have loved that his initiative continued throughout the entire generation. We as the school, we've been cooking since the lockdown started. We've been playing a role in changing the society and in changing the community.
So this soup is a mix of everything, but it's a hearty soup. We have the Rise Initiative, which gives us like a pack of rice, lentils, soup, soy meats, which makes it even a fuller and a healthier, which gets like your nutritional values in. So I'm happy that someone's getting a nutritional meal for like what it's worth, so someone's fed.
The brains behind the campaign Chefs with Compassion and SA Harvest are hoping this initiative can help some South Africans not go to bed hungry.
Chefs with Compassion's mission is to feed the nation, and we've been doing it already for the last 12 weeks. And in partnership with SA Harvest, who are our food rescue champions, to get us the produce, this project is going to go on long beyond just Mandela Day.
In a true demonstration of Ubuntu on how we should be treating others, piping hot liters of soup were delivered to Jackson Park Informal Settlement.
Why I chose this community, such a small community, but it's too hard for them to get to the shops. Most kids are very needy, and everyone here, as you can see, how many people. I don't even have words to say about these people, you see. The only thing I can say is that the moment I touched my feet here, it really touched my heart.
I'm telling you, they have been well taken care of. Dwema South has been here consistently doing feeding of kids, doing feeding of adults. So it's just been since the beginning of lockdown. We've been here with SA Harvest. Jackson Park has been looked after.
South Africa's lockdown has dragged on for close to 4 months, despite the gloominess faced by many who've lost jobs and seen their incomes dry up. The spirit of Ubuntu and Nelson Mandela remains strong. At less than the cost of a cappuccino, South Africans have opened their hearts and given generously to this initiative and to make a difference to those who don't know when their next meal will come from.
When we return, international news. Even amid COVID-19, America's gun violence increases. And later, sport. Victor Agali laments over the quality of domestic football.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. There has been another wave of gun violence this summer in the United States. Huge spikes in shootings have been recorded in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago as cities reopened during the coronavirus pandemic. Correspondent Dan Williams reports on the grim statistics.
Police watching as a funeral takes place for a victim of gun violence in Chicago's South Side. The officers tell me there are fears of a retaliatory attack. Like many other US cities, Chicago has seen a jump in gun violence. The number of shootings here this year has already surpassed last year's total. Chanel Manny knows all about the pain of gun violence. Her son Taekwon was shot and killed in December.
I'm not understanding, why he got killed. I still don't know the reason why. I'm still in how I'm feeling, bad.
Manny says the situation in Chicago is getting worse.
It's real bad. It's sad when you can't walk out your house and you have to duck because you see somebody drive by shooting, and they're not killing the person that they want. They're killing innocent people.
The Chicago Police Department has responded by setting up a specialized unit to tackle the issue. It comes after a bloody July 4th weekend that saw scores of people shot, more than a dozen fatally, including a 7-year-old child.
The spike in shootings in Chicago comes as the role of policing in the US is under scrutiny. In the wake of racial justice protests, cities across the country are debating whether to reallocate some of their police budgets to focus on other social programs.
Corey Brooks is the executive director of Project Hood, which stands for Helping Others Obtain Destiny, a non-profit organization in Chicago that works to end violence in the city.
Policing alone will never solve it. Adding more police will never solve it. But what I will say is this, a different type of policing may help. We have to get to the point in our society, in Chicago, where the police are in our community and engaging with the community, being a part of the community, a piece of the fabric of the community. That is not happening.
In the short term, authorities are hopeful of gaining back some control. But longer term, local leaders are calling for more focus on the root causes.
A lot of the young men on these corners and on these blocks, they feel helpless, they feel hopeless, they feel like they don't have any opportunity, they don't have a chance. It's up to us to make sure that we give them the opportunity to acquire what we call the American dream. A chance to get a job, a chance to get a home, a chance to have a family, a chance to be productive.
In the meantime, more violence here and elsewhere in the US, and leaders searching for answers.
Yemen is facing worsening humanitarian crisis as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The United Nations says the situation could have deadly consequences for the country. Other crises facing the country are a prolonged war, a famine, and the largest outbreak of cholera in modern history. Correspondent Natli Kani reports.
A chance encounter Ene Rappel had with a government hospital in a remote area of Yemen 24 years ago changed her life forever.
There has not been water and no electricity. It was awful, the situation there.
Since she has fundraised the building of a new hospital and home for more than 100 impoverished and orphaned children in the same remote area northwest of Taiz. But the brutal civil war continues to challenge operations.
We bought also this house there because I want to bring X-ray. I got one, but now there is no chance to bring anything now to sale. In Aden, the Saudis are blockade the haven, and in Hodeidah are the Houthis.
Yemen has been declared the world's worst humanitarian crisis, even surpassing headline-making Syria in desperation, with both warring parties blocking entry points to the country for even the most necessary of humanitarian supplies. The civil war in Yemen has not only made it difficult for small local aid organizations to help the war-torn country, but also big international ones such as the United Nations, who are raising alarm bells that COVID-19 is now compounding an already dire situation.
COVID is a catastrophe on top of a catastrophe for Yemen, a country where the population has not had regular access to health care for far too long. And based on the reports that we're hearing from the community of increasing number of people dying at home for causes that are not known, we are extremely concerned that all the factors for a surge in transmission are there in Yemen, and Yemen could easily be the next epicenter for COVID.
Up next, sport. Victor Agali laments over quality of domestic football. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in sport. Super Eagles former goalkeeper Victor Agali says he's disappointed at the level of Nigeria's domestic football. Agali says the poor organization of the league would affect players scouting by national coach Gennett Rohr. Agali says the under-20 and under-23 teams should be the feeder teams for the Super Eagles, just like in other countries. The former goalkeeper is advocating for good working relationships with the senior coaches and those in charge of the junior teams. Bayern Munich and Croatia former manager Niko Kovac is now the new Monaco boss. Former manager Robert Moreno was sacked after only 7 months in charge of the League One club on Sunday. 48-year-old Kovac won the German League and Cup double with Bayern in the 2018-2019 season, but left in November last year. Moreno took over last December when Monaco was 7th in the table. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, ANNAfrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.